Today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. Some really beautiful words from Jack Ma, aren't they? Good evening to one and all.
कितना 25.35.
I would recommend people to turn off their mic because it will be a disruption for the speakers as well. Thank you so much. So, good evening to one and all. We would like to thank one of the PGC Marketing Committee members, Vishnu Nair, first of all, who has created this wonderful introduction video. And on behalf of our entire PGC team, I would like to welcome you all to day 2 of Opportunities Australia Mentorship Conclave, proudly brought to you by UNSW Postgraduate Council, ARC UNSW, and Opportunities Australia. I'm your host, Saurabh Kaura, and I'm a coursework officer on the Postgraduate Council. The Postgraduate Council is a student body that represents, supports, and advocates for all the postgraduate students. If you have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to us. And today, we have some great speakers lined up on day 2, which is quite similar to day 1, when each one of us was simply in admiration of the speakers who gave some magnificent presentations. Before we begin with this mega event, I would like to start the event by acknowledging and paying my respects to the Bidjigal and Gadigal peoples, the traditional custodians of the lands where each of our UNSW campuses are located, and all the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, elders, past, present, and emerging, and their communities who have shared and practiced their teachings over thousands of years. We recognize the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples' ongoing leadership and contributions, including to business, education, and industry. Joining me again as a co-host today will be Shruthi Kumar, who is also a part of our PGC team as well as a postgraduate student at UNSW.
Thanks for the great start for the event, Saurabh. Just like day 1, you were amazing today as well. Hello, everyone. This is Shruthi, and I'm a counselor at UNSW PGC, co-hosting today with Saurabh Kaura. After yesterday's session, I'm really excited for today as well, because I'm pretty sure most of our students learned a lot from the 4 amazing speakers that we had yesterday. And today we have 4 more who are here to inspire us. And before I get started, I'd really like to thank Opportunities Australia for collaborating with UNSW PGC and ARC UNSW for making this event a grand one. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me today to kickstart the day 2 of Opportunities Australia Mentorship Conclave. We had 4 speakers yesterday, and today we have 4 more. And in order to just save time, we will be having the Q&A towards the end of the session. And I'd like to now give a quick heads up on housekeeping for today's event. The event is going to be recorded, so if you are uncomfortable with your camera on, please feel free to turn off your camera while the recording is in progress. And also, I request you to please keep yourself on mute while the presenters are presenting, so they are more audible towards you. And if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to put that down on the chat box, and either me or Saurabh will take a note on that, and we will be taking up during the Q&A. Now I'd like to hand over to Saurabh to introduce our first speaker. Over to you, Saurabh.
Before we introduce the first speaker, I was told by Kumar that he wants to have some introductory remarks. So I would request Kumar to introduce today's events and welcome officially on behalf of Opportunities Australia as well.
All right. Thank you, Saurabh. It's such an honor to open the event and talk a little bit about Opportunities Australia before you get to hear from the speakers. This is a platform which has been started 1 year ago to help out the university students as well as refugees, migrants, and Indigenous people in Australia. And we have formed partnerships with a few corporates as well as other charities as well, who have been providing their clients for help. and we have been approached numerous times now. It's a dream run to be able to help out everyone on this journey. And this is the first time we started mentoring UNSW students. I graduated in 2011. I have been mentor at UNSW since then. And it's such a great joy to be able to help the students, international students and the local students. So I hope you get to enjoy the event. And the purpose of the organization is to help people out with mentoring and employment opportunities as well. We do training in a few fields as well, like finance, IT, and some more skills. So you'd be able to find those details on the website. But yeah, mentoring is a big part of it. So yeah, I would like to welcome you all. We have a great panel of speakers, and I hope you get to enjoy them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the message, Kumar. And as I told you yesterday, I think you are yourself an inspiration for the society, the way you have been running Opportunities Australia in the last 1 year. But now, taking no more time, I want to introduce the first speaker for today. That is the Australian soccer player, Craig Foster. He is the 419th Australian Football International and 40th Captain Oceania Player of the Year, an Australian Team of the Century nominee with decades of experience in broadcasting, government and diplomacy, and social justice. He was formerly a director of Coursework and currently the Australian Multicultural Council Department Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs, where he has played various sports diplomacy roles, including chef de mission NSW government to Brazil and bilateral meetings Mercosur. Craig has been heavily involved in Indigenous football and rights, refugee children and refugee rights, and homelessness through sport programs. He has also been an ambassador for Amnesty Australia, Committee Human Rights Watch, UNSW Australian Human Rights Institute, and much more. Now, I will not take more time and no more surprises. You already know the speaker, so I'll pass it on to Craig. It's my absolute honor, Craig, to invite you as the first presenter for this evening.
Thank you, Saurabh, and others, and it's a delight to be here. Thank you to Kumar for the invitation. To my fellow panelists, I want to recognise that we are, well, all of us, including anyone at UNSW. So I'd imagine most of you will be in Sydney. We're on Gadigal land of the Eora Nation, and that it's so important. Many of you, of course, are from abroad and come from the multiple countries around the world to come and study at UNSW or perhaps even online. And we all need to recognise that, the First Nations of Australia are the traditional owners of the land, that this land was stolen, was colonised, and no treaty was ever made with our First Nations people, and that's a form of reparation that we need to make. I'm going to talk a little bit about racism shortly, and one of the issues that we face is reconciliation with the racism that underpinned colonisation of our own country. And until we do that, we're not going to be able to move forward in relation to racism to so many other communities. I want to just commend you quickly, and I won't take a lot of your time here. I just make some opening comments and look forward to hearing from some of your other speakers. But I just want to firstly congratulate you. It's nice to see both a female and male as the coordinators of this event this evening. That's really important, and to see gender equality already, so visible at the start of this mentorship evening is really wonderful to see. I hope that that's integrated and embedded right across your organisation, whether it's your postgraduate council or indeed with Kumar and Opportunities Australia. Just on that, I noticed that it is a mentorship conclave. So I looked up that word, and it says that it's a gathering of a group or association. So that certainly includes us this evening. But it also says it's a private meeting or a secret assembly, especially a meeting of Roman Catholic cardinals secluded continuously while choosing a pope. I don't know what that says about Kumar's leadership or whether he's something of a quasi-religious figure. Nevertheless,
you are the Pope, Craig.
Nevertheless, it's good to be here. All right, I'm just going to touch on principally 4 themes. With so much brilliance and acumen and intellect among the PhD students. The question is what I can really offer to you. I think probably the first thing is just to talk a little bit about the fields where I've been, briefly, sport, media. Also, I want to touch on volunteerism. I think it's a really important community and civil duty that also can be very beneficial for everyone, including students. And fourthly, I want to just finish by touching on racism in Australia right now, which is going to affect so many of you who are on this call, and some of the initiatives that we have in that regard. So I did play football for the country and played around the world, and have a lot to do with the game here, whether it's administratively or coaching or otherwise. Sport is a really important social vehicle in Australia. Many of you will have been involved through your graduate studies at UNSW in some of the sporting organisations there, and perhaps externally. Sport is facing something of a reckoning in Australia and around the world, in part because of Black Lives Matter, which was so important to so many areas of society, both in the US, but much of the Western world, and certainly in Australia. We had Indigenous Lives Matter here that followed after that, and a racial reckoning in terms of our systems, in systemic racism, our political establishment, and of course the intersection of gender and race as well, meaning more representation of women that many of us are calling for across all sectors of society, whether that's at universities, in the corporate world, politics or elsewhere. But of course, gender equality is also about the intersection of cultures and race, so that, we want to see across all of society a representation of what is the real nature and the real face of Australia. For international students in particular, I know it's been a very difficult time over the past 18 months. Last year, I was deeply involved with volunteering in certain organisations, including a very good one called Addison Road Community Centre in Marrickville, which is not too far away from UNSW, where we had literally hundreds of university students come seeking food hampers and basic necessities of life after much of their part-time, casual and precarious work extinguished. And many students were facing very considerable trouble at that time. In fact, one of the students came one day in his car. He was a Bolivian student, and he had been sleeping in the back of his car for about 8 weeks, for 2 months. By that stage, he came across asking for food at Addison Road. I took him and I invited him back to my place, and we kept him for quite a period of time before we raised some money for Daniel to then go and be able to stay in accommodation close to us, to stay close to the family. And thirdly, Daniel was able to then enroll in a course up in northern New South Wales, actually in Southern Cross University, and now he's studying and doing fantastically well. So I've seen very, very directly the effect of firstly the pandemic on international students who were in the country at the time, and indeed we're in lockdown here in Sydney now and much else of the country. Secondly, the lack of support that was provided from the federal government. New South Wales government ultimately ended, and stepped up and provided some type of relief, as did the Victorian government, but it wasn't enough. So we've seen that need right throughout. I am concerned that students are being left to in a very, very vulnerable position, and I've seen that happen, particularly with female students, and we've actually had some cases where female students have been preyed upon and have ended up in situations of extreme vulnerability and risk. So if anyone we've just gone into lockdown only, earlier this week. If any of the students are feeling, this way at all, or you're in need of anything, whether that's food or otherwise, please, you're more than welcome to get in touch with Addison Road Community Centre on Addy Road, ADDIROAD, addyroad.org.au, and they're always there to provide not just food support, but all types of services. In fact, given the need from international students, the great people down there, good friends of mine, I'm an ambassador for them, we ended up putting on legal service for visas of students, and a whole range of services would come once a week on Friday. In fact, students were so thankful to be able to have a bit of a home, a spiritual home and a safe haven during that time. And now that they would turn up on a Friday and come and give whatever it is they had to give. So we had students who were classical music students, some from Colombia in particular, who formed a group and were playing every Friday for the others and for the volunteer workers. We had people turning up and giving free haircuts to students and a whole range of services. The organisation was just there to meet need, as it always is. So I just want to acknowledge that and make sure that everyone is feeling safe, and if you're in need, please, you have a council there to reach out to, or you have a community group to reach out to, and some of you might have a sporting club or industry group to reach out to, and that's one of the areas where sport is so important. What I did last year was bring sport to that organisation, and in fact started a campaign right around Australia called Play for Lives, which meant don't play sport for points, play for people's lives right now. And so we had literally thousands of people coming out of sport and volunteering in a whole range of community services around the country. That was to drive cancer patients to hospital. It was to provide food services for 600 students up in Brisbane, and at least 300 or 400 here in Sydney. We worked with the Brazilian community, the Latin American community, and as you heard earlier, I formerly sat on the council of COO. COO is the Council for Australian Latin American Relations with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So I worked with particularly the Latin American community, also the Vietnamese community, quite a few Asians, Nepalese community came down, and we were able to support all the students. So firstly, that's really important. When you come to a country, or however long some of you have been here studying, you should never feel vulnerable, you should never feel left behind, and there's always people here to support you. Sporting organisations are one that should play that role if you do have the opportunity to be involved. Sport is a great connecting force, and it's a network that can assist you to do many things, including be mentored, including create contact networks that can facilitate your the expression of your potential in whatever field that it is that you want to do. I've certainly found that within sport, although I obviously, was a high profile professional sports person, but I also play in community-based sport, and I see the connecting force that is. So if you have an opportunity to do that, you should reach out to your sporting environment, to your club, to your teammates and others, and ask for assistance in any way that you need, and that includes mentorship. So both immediate, short-term and medium-term support. Secondly, media. I worked for 20 years with SBS. That's a multicultural broadcasting network. I must say that we still lack diversity in Australian media, and that comes from myself, who is obviously a white Anglo middle-aged male in Australia. So I'm in the most prominent cohort of people that you will see in your media landscape when you turn on any television, or indeed probably listen to almost any radio. So a lot of change needs to occur there. But for those of you who might have ambitions in the media, I encourage you to get involved, to support and get to know organisations like, for instance, Media Diversity Australia are a very, very good one. And one of my friends, Walid Ali, who is a prominent presenter on the project on Channel 10, some of you might know. Walid is one of the directors of that organisation, which conducts research and advocates for greater diversity and representation of the vastly multicultural face of Australia on our television networks, which is so very, very important. Thirdly, I will just wanted to talk about volunteerism. One thing I've found is that taking the opportunity for all of you, even while studying, and I understand that many of you will need to work, of course, but even taking an hour or two each week to support a volunteer community charity organisation is firstly very important for the soul. Secondly, it is highly beneficial to create social community networks. And you will find that in most of these organisations, you have a very diverse and often highly influential network of people across the breadth of society. So if you look, for instance, at Oz Harvest with a legendary Australian good friend of mine, Ronnie Khan, who repurposes food from Woolworths and provides hot meals to hundreds of organisations across the country. The volunteer workforce there is is a family. It is a group of people with very extensive social, professional, corporate, industrial, political networks and experience, and ultimately is a group of really good people. So Addison Road Community Centre is just down the road. Should some of you wish to be involved, you're welcome to come down to Addison Road Community Centre and volunteer with so many people there from all walks of life. We have legendary Australian actors and singers and sports people and all sorts of a cross section. Highly influential corporate Australian directors and chair people who come down with us and volunteer to simply pack food hampers. It might sound odd to think that that's a way to for you to create networks whilst also doing good, but it's exactly what it is. It does both of those things. I would encourage you to do so just for the benefits of actually helping people, of course. But given that this is a mentorship program, I just wanted to mention to you, don't underestimate the power of going into community networks where volunteerism is happening in charities, because you will find not only a group of great human beings who want to give, but you'll quickly realize that many of them are directors, CEOs, founders of startups, politicians, and a very broad cross-section of society. So any of you who feel moved to do so, please get in touch with Addison Road Community down there. And finally, I just wanted to talk to you, I guess in some ways reassure you. I know we've got a very multicultural, diverse group of postgraduate students, but that you know, an increasing number of Australians are recognising, you know, the racism that many non-Anglo people face, and I might say also it's within communities and intra-communities and in between communities, but certainly has underpinned much of Australian history, given our colonisation and our inability to deal with that. From time to time, we've had this repeating pattern where various newly arrived immigrant groups were demonised and attacked. We had the Vietnamese in the 70s, and we had the Greeks and Italians and Croatians and Serbs, Yugoslavs, that, you know, so many play my game of football and others. You know, I've seen that over a very long period of time, these things occur. In recent years, we had the South Sudanese Australian community feeling rightly victimised. And of course, we had, you know, Australian Muslim communities and others. So I recognise and acknowledge that it does occur, that has increased during COVID, particularly to our Asian Australians or Asian visitors here studying. And it's something that we have to confront, firstly acknowledge, secondly confront, and thirdly do our best to eradicate. I'm not sure if that's possible given human nature and you know, and the history of humankind. Nevertheless, we can create mechanisms to identify, to treat the cause, not just the symptoms, and in regards to reporting, providing a voice, giving access to power to those who have been victims of racism. Recently, I lent my name to a movement called Racism Not Welcome. You can find that at racismnotwelcome.com. And that movement is a grassroots community-led movement to, as I said before, acknowledge, firstly, because so often it's not acknowledged in Australia. Secondly, confront and catalyse a range of initiatives to challenge racism. Just last week, we were, the motion to support Racism Not Welcome was passed by the ALGA, that's the Australian Local Government Association, that's the association of all councils around the country, all 536. The City of Sydney itself was one of the earliest councils in support several months ago, and Racism Not Welcome signs will be going up quite soon in the City of Sydney as you walk down George Street and elsewhere. Very prominent signs letting everyone know that racism is not welcome. Of course, that doesn't eradicate or solve it, but what it does do is publicly make a statement it makes the issue visible, creates conversations, and allows us to then catalyse initiatives around that. We started recently with the first exhibition, photographic exhibition at Addison Road Community Centre, and we expect to see these in every council around the country in the next 12 months. So it is something that many people in Australia, increasing number, I think, are looking to eradicate and to confront. And I encourage all of you, if that's something that you have faced or in fact do experience, you can get in touch with us at Addison Road Community Centre or through racismnotwelcome.com. And you'll have people there to identify the actions that you can take and do our best to support you and to call out the behaviours and make sure that people understand that they can't get away with that. So those are the main themes that I just want to touch on briefly. That was, sport, media, volunteerism, and racism not welcome. I know there's some questions that have come up. I don't think I'm supposed to answer those at this time. I know that you guys want to move on and give the best opportunity for others to speak. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Kumar, and others. And it's been a delight to spend some time with you.
Thank you so much, Craig. That was truly moving and motivating as well. And thank you once again for supporting so many international students. I'm pretty sure that many of them would have felt helpless, especially not being able to connect with their home country as well during such a pandemic. But thanks a lot. And I hope this has inspired a lot of our students here to volunteer and help whoever is there with them, as well as moving ahead after graduation as well. I hope they continue to volunteer and support each other. Thanks a lot. But moving ahead, we have another inspiring story coming from Juliana Owen, who is our next speaker for this evening. She's the founder of New Mind Consulting, which is a life and career coaching business that is designed to help you achieve your career goals, as well as it is a curated consulting that would help you in addressing some of the challenges that life throws at you. She is also a trained psychologist with over 15 years of experience, global experience with personal development, recruitment, coaching, business strategy, people and culture, NPL, and life coaching and neuroscience, working for national and multinational companies all around the world, including key roles in some of the startups in South America and in Australia. She has a true passion for helping people to find success in their everyday life as well as in their career. It is my honor to introduce you today, Juliana. The stage is now over yours to inspire all our students. Over to you.
Thank you very much, guys. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and very exciting to be talking to so many students as well, because I understand exactly where they are right now. I'm going to share a little bit about my story with you guys, and I hope you can get inspired. So I did my degree back in Brazil in psychology, and I started working with recruitment and HR pretty much 6 months after I joined university. In Brazil, it is slightly different than here in Australia. You can study and work at the same time. So I was just really keen to challenge myself and understand a little bit about the market. So I was working with recruitment and HR for about 4.5 years before I arrived in Australia. The reason why I moved over here was to improve my communication skills. By the time I was working in Brazil for an American company, and I had the opportunity to step up, but I had to improve some skills before I was about to take over the position. So I arrived here with pretty much the aim to improve my communication skills, but I fell in love with Sydney instantly, did an English for Business course for about 6 months. And then I decided to invest in a business management course and pretty much start developing my skills, more focus on people development inside organization, and also focus on international career. Here in Australia, I've been operating across pretty much all the areas in recruitment and HR. So I've worked as a recruitment agent, I've worked as a talent acquisition, as a head of talent. I helped people to set up startups, training, coaching, and mentoring as well, senior executives. Throughout my development here in Australia for the past 12 years, I've been recognized as one of the top 10 coaches to be watched in Australia now in 2021, which makes me very happy and proud of all the work that I've put into. It is a big challenge to come to a new country without knowing the language properly, without knowing anything about the culture. And I believe that the students that are listening to me now can relate it to that, because I was in their shoes pretty much 12 years ago when I came to the country with experience, but I didn't know anything about the market and I didn't have any local experience, but I knew I had potential. So I started developing my skills, and nowadays I've got my own business. So New Mind Consulting, it is an online platform where I pretty much combine life and career into the same business. Life and career are much more interlinked than what we think. I believe all of us, we are really keen to be successful within our interpersonal relationships and also in our career. But for us to get the balance, we need to firstly understand how do we operate and how do we face challenges. So basically, this is the purpose of my work with New Mind Consulting, is helping people to build the best version of themselves, because all of us, we have a lot of qualities and we have a lot of skills that we can develop. But if you don't know how to identify those, you also don't know, and you cannot bring that, expertise to the market. So my job at the moment within the career coaching side is pretty much to prepare migrants to enter in the Australian market and also graduate. So I've been working across different organizations here in Australia, and I've done a lot of graduate programs. And the first thing that I like to always mention is you all have the same opportunity, right? The biggest difference that's going to make you go above and beyond is your attitude and the preparation you need to have before you enter in the market, right? It is important for you to understand how to expose your ideas and also how to explain to your future employer what you can add in terms of value, right? And I understand that it's pretty challenging as a graduate coming out of the university with a lot of expectations, a lot of dreams and a lot of goals to be achieved. But the majority of the jobs, they are looking for 1 or 2 years of experience. And that's when the frustration comes. And that's when you actually need to focus and develop your personal skills as well. So if I can give you guys an advice, it is start with your networking, right? So I really liked what Craig said about going into communities and pretty much start developing your networking. So from my side here as a career coach, I would say make sure you have your LinkedIn properly set up, okay? LinkedIn is a really, really powerful tool. And here in Australia, recruitment is not just part of a HR department. Recruitment is an industry, and is a very profitable industry, and is a huge industry. So the large companies and the big organizations, they will be looking for specialists in the market to pretty much find the best talents. And these large organizations, they also have programs for graduates. Consulting business as well, they look for graduates in order to train them and help them to develop their career under a senior mentor. So if you are looking to pretty much start getting ready, I would say first thing, focus on a LinkedIn profile. Make sure you can highlight your soft skills. Make sure you can add all the projects you've done at university, because if you're thinking, I don't have local experience, it's fine, but you have done so much work throughout the university and throughout your course that you can definitely showcase those, those projects to your future employer, and pretty much show them how you can add value to the business. So this would be my tip. In terms of life coaching, I work a lot with neuroscience as well. So here in Australia, I am I'm certified in neuroscience of leadership and also neuro-linguistic programming. So the focus of the work that I do is pretty much working with all your cognitive area and how do we put all those thoughts and into your behavior out in the environment. So if you are looking to develop your skills, my tip would be start pretty much setting up your plan and start managing your expectations, because everyone have the opportunity. If I came here without knowing anything about the market, and obviously I went through lots of challenges until I got the opportunity to have my own business and give it back to the community and add value to people's life, I'm pretty sure that you all can do the same. So I guess that's basically it. Just focus on getting your expectations ready and prepared before you start entering the market, so you can increase your chance to be more successful. I think that's it. I don't know. I'm just conscious about the time.
Is
that okay? Because I'm just conscious about the time.
If you'd like to take more, that's fine too.
Yeah, so basically that's pretty much an overview about what I do and what I would be focusing on if I was a graduate, because you will be facing a lot of different challenges. Some people will come with a lot of expectations. I can share a quick story, right? I was helping a graduate a few months ago, and he said to me, look, Juliana, I'm struggling to get into the market. I'm not getting any traction. I'm not getting the salary I'm after. And when I was actually going a little bit more deep into detail with this career coaching process, I was just aware that he wasn't really managing any expectations towards the market in terms of, salary expectations or experience or any of that. So that's why he wasn't really achieving what he wanted. So basically, that's why I was highlighting about expectations, because it's huge when you're actually expecting that the market's going to give you an opportunity because you have zero experience, but you have a PhD. Right? But if you don't really show your future or potential employer how you can add value to the business, it is going to be really, really difficult. So managing expectations, understanding about the market, and also start developing your networking through LinkedIn, it is basically the key. And even if after that you're struggling, look for professional help, because it is important to get this guidance and, start on the right track.
Thank you so much for that wonderful tips, Juliana, as well as sharing your career journey as well. I'm sure that students have made a note on that and they will be implementing it soon. And we look forward to hearing more questions for you during the Q&A.
Thank you.
And also, thank you so much, Mitch, for putting across some of the links that Craig mentioned earlier to the chat box. So students, if you were listening earlier, you can scroll up and you can find those links as well. But before we move forward, we will be taking a short 5-minute break, and we will be back at 6:51. But just during the break, you will be able to take a glimpse of some of the great work done by Opportunities Australia, as well as Postgraduate Council, who are organizing this mega event. Thanks, everyone.
I'm David Masterton, Chairman of the Masterton Homes Group and formerly CEO. I first met Kumar in 2015 when both of us were doing the CEO Sleep Out to raise money and awareness for the homeless. Kumar is very charity minded, and his latest venture is Opportunities Australia, where he finds employment for those that are unemployed and arranges to skill them up so that they can seek new job opportunities. Kumar has a very good heart, and I wish him all the very best in his new venture.
So welcome back from the break, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the videos. That was just a quick glimpse of all the great work which has been done by Opportunities Australia and also the Postgraduate Council at UNSW recently. So persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. And these are some great words by the CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk. And we definitely have some great speakers today who have shown how being persistent towards your career goals can eventually take you to success. It's time now to move forward with the next speaker for today, that is Maryam Zahid, who is the founder and director of Afghan Women on the Move. She started Afghan Women on the Move to support women who have survived war and trauma. For the past 18 years and over, she has worked for the community by constantly focusing on gender equality, women's rights, and displacement of Afghan diaspora around the world. She was awarded the Blacktown Woman of the Year Award in 2019 for her incredible work towards the community. Currently, she is working as the Domestic Violence Prevention Project Officer for Sidwest Multicultural Services. To add more, she is also a theater writer. She has written One Woman Plays, and as the founder of the Afghan Women on the Move, Maryam has successfully led refugee women in arts and cultural programs as parts of the Daneha exhibition and performance program at Blacktown Arts. I could probably go on, but I will leave the stage for you now, Maryam, to speak more. And it is for me to welcome you now as the third presenter.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you very much. You're very kind with your introduction. And hello, everyone. I also would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I'm meeting you guys tonight. I'm meeting you guys from the direct land, and I pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. And I also thank the Opportunity Australia, the UNSW, the ARC, and all the supporters and volunteers that put together tonight's event. And it's I was looking forward to meet you guys on the stage and yeah, see you all, but this is also a very good way to connect virtually with our friends. So a little bit well, you've said a lot about me and there's not much, but if I just take you guys back to my journey of coming, because I'm presenting Afghan Women on the Move here as a founder and a director, and normally people, when they mention the name of Afghanistan, they quickly go back to the media announcements and the news on talking about Taliban and the killings and the bombings and all of that. But also Afghanistan has been a place of beauty and nature and resources and people and like me and you guys. And now that we have opportunities for those of us that we had survived the war, and we have the opportunities here in Australia and found the safety and security, we didn't give up on the dreams that probably we didn't get back home. I stayed without much schooling or doing much outside of home for almost 20 years when I was back home. So when I came to Australia at the age of 20, I came from with no prior education or any documents to show that I have done a school or I haven't done a school. How do I prove myself to what needs to be done for me to move forward? Seeing all these opportunities in this wonderful land. But as you said, I didn't give up on the dream that I have. And I went to knock on a school door, and I expressed my aspirations and dream that I wanted to be at a school. I don't want to go to TAFE, and because when you come from a country that English is not their language, or even they don't get have it as a curriculum in the schooling, you come with no language. So you come in a country with no language, with no awareness of their culture, you have no understanding of the norms, and going to school, it gives you that awareness and that knowledge. So I came with that ambition that when I find opportunities, I'll go to school. So I was at the age of 20 sitting next to the 16 and 17 years old boys and girls, pretending that I was a 16 years old girl. I did my HEC when I first came to Australia, and from there I moved on, and I have now a very diverse educational background. To cut the story short for you guys, about Afghan Women on the Move, it's a platform that functions or work outside of community politics and religious perspectives. So that makes us unique, and that makes us a bit broader in terms of to address the issues and advocate on the issues that community face, especially women and young girls. And so Afghan Women on the Move is, we have services on health platforms. We also have a service on storytelling and exhibition. That's a very powerful tool that we use and advocate and raise awareness and the programs to empower women through storytelling and exhibitions and documentaries. Because the work that I involve working with women from cult communities, most of the time we come from a country where they come from a place of trauma, and it's working with them takes a bit longer than those of us who had the privileges of having the growing up here and going to school and knowing the language, don't feel discriminated. So all of that, women from cult communities or refugee and migrant backgrounds, they have a lot of obstacles or a lot of challenges to face to get to where they wanted to be. So through art and exhibitions and storytelling, we are able to tell their stories if they are shy at the beginning to dream. And that's the tool we use to communicate to the wider Australian community. This is the tool where we tell their stories and get them on the camera to come and say their dreams and talk about their dreams. And that really was impactful, and still we are very strong on this aspect of the organization, from reaching out to the mainstream society and challenge a perception of Afghan women and women of color in the contemporary society. So yeah, we are, and also it just allows wide range of expressions from women to build that individual's confidence, and someone like me to be able, after probably 20 years, once you get all your helps and all your network and you build that confidence, you build the language, to now create a platforms for others to come in and use it. And then me being as a domestic violence prevention officer, also I see a lot of women that are coming from experiencing violence, and domestic violence does not discriminate, as you might know, that it comes from domestic violence defines as power and control, and it has the definition of it now is not just the physical violence. It can be emotional, psychological, social, and so we are addressing all of that, and there are the platforms that where we are very much closely working with women of cult communities, and we are very much culturally aware on how to speak and how to advocate on them. So that's pretty much from my from Afghan Women on the Move, that what I do, and yeah, and
thank you so much, Maryam. I think that was truly incredible and moving, and I look forward to hearing more success stories from Afghan Women on the Move, and I hope this inspires a lot of students out here.
Yeah, for the students, I may just add that for the students that are listening to us, I cannot emphasize enough on the importance of activism and making awareness for the next generations. Because what happens is, at the moment, that the era that we are living and the generation that we are working with, all these unpredictable things that are happening around us, make sure that you are aware of what's happening around us, and how do we just not just go by Google search and become biased and become, the more we understand about what is our culture at home, what is the culture of our neighbor, the culture and the norms of the society we live, how do we address if we see somebody in trouble, how do we advocate on the vulnerable people. That is what makes our generations more strong. It takes us from that vulnerable positions of people using and abusing us, and especially from the when you have the opportunities on having the education and you coming from an academic perspective, these research and these readings, and if we don't put this one in practice, and if we don't have that as a burning activism inside you, just having the job and sitting behind a blue screen, so having those perfect social media posts on how wonderful job and titles we have, that does not solve the issues that it's a contemporary issues that we are facing at the moment, and also our social responsibilities from our corporates and from people that have a job that they don't have the opportunity to go and work with grassroots organization with volunteers. I don't want to repeat much on what our other speakers said, but the importance of working on the grassroots issues can make a huge difference, can decrease the violence in our communities, can decrease the discrimination against people when we are aware of who is who around us. While we are working in an organization where there's lots of diversity and we understand, and if we work in organizations that we don't have diversity there, how do we challenge that, and how do we make sure that there is equality of presence of men and women, presence of cult women, women of color, and a position of leadership in a government, and all of that can make a huge difference for us as people that are already working on the ground, but our younger generation who are now more equipped with information and with knowledge because of the opportunities you guys have to come and give us a hand, because we already create that pathway, right? And if we have the volunteers and the friends to come on board and give us that push from with their skills, we can make a huge difference in shorter time. I'm not asking to go shortcuts, not like that, but to just kind of, different skills will add a lot for all of us to make this world beautiful, and also Australia is a beautiful country, and Australia is a multicultural community. Nobody can deny that. Yes, we do have in most cases or some cases of discrimination, or women of color or cult communities left behind, and all of the politics is systematic discrimination that maybe somewhere is in place. But with awareness, with our activism, in a sensible way, in a very civil way, we can do a lot, because how our grandparents and the patriarchy and then the masculinity fought the issues with guns and power and control, that does not work anymore, at least in countries like this. So what works now is our voices. And I have women that works with me, and we work together, or they volunteer in an organization that I represent. Sometimes they get shy or embarrassed because of the language barrier, the accent they may have, there are other obstacles from their social, where they're from, what their parents will say, what's their society, the culture they're coming from. But our job is to create these safe platforms for them to address and be comfortable and feel more welcome. So I think my 15 minutes is over. I think, yeah, I'm not going to say much.
Thank you so much for being such an inspiration and motivating all our students, Maryam. You were just amazing. And we look forward to hearing more questions for you during the Q&A.
Okay, thank you.
But now moving on towards our last speaker for today, Mr. Sidney Cachuela. He is the COO and co-founder of Pop Tax. He has built Pop as the quintessential platform for all the Australians to be empowered by accounting and finance, not to be confused by it. Pop is the first step for breaking down the dreaded tax return system through its software. It has completely revamped the whole tax return process and created the fastest, easiest, and the most affordable tax return in Australia. Their mission is to reinvent and refresh the Australian tax and accounting industry through technology. Their expert team can deliver and advise on a wide range of services, including accounting, tax optimization, bookkeeping, structuring, and business strategies. It is definitely a pleasure to welcome you today, Sidney. The stage is now over to you to present.
Thanks, Shruthi. Yeah, really pleased to be here to share some, hopefully, words of wisdom with you all. And you know, we've been following up the other speakers with a lot of knowledge that they've brought. Saurabh, I'm very happy that you opened up with a quote from Elon Musk. He's always been an inspiration for me and also the team at Pop. So it's really awesome that you said that. Craig Foster, you know, bringing in the community, building something and joining community so you build for the soul as well. That's an amazing point. Juliana, you know, career and life are so intertwined. So focusing on yourself and your mind and wiring that correctly is super important. So definitely resonated with that. And with Maryam, storytelling, you know, that's such an important part of being able to get people to understand you. And I think, you know, for the students out there, we've put this presentation together with Opportunities Australia to help you find, I guess, your next steps and help you along your journey in your career and in life as well. So, you know, storytelling is an important part, like what makes you you, and how can you tell that story to whoever you're speaking to, like a prospective employer, that could, you know, get them to understand where you're coming from and how you guys can work well together. So, you know, amazing points from previous speakers, and yeah, looking forward to speaking a bit about myself and hopefully some tips and guidance that you could use in your own life, but potentially not just for students, for anyone listening into this call as well. But it seems like a lot of people have their videos off. I'd love to see some faces, because then I can, you know, see if I'm boring you or I need to change topic quickly. But I understand if it's not something that you're comfortable with. So yeah, a bit about me. Started in the accounting and finance industry 10 years ago, and became a chartered accountant. And, you know, saw that there were a lot of improvements that could have been made in the accounting and tax industry. So, you know, a few years later, me and a couple of friends, we co-founded Pop Tax and Pop Business. And the main goal there for Pop Tax is not only to max your tax back, but also to provide an experience that, you know, you're not afraid of the tax return every year. You find someone that you can speak to and understand, like, okay, these guys are going to help me out and they're going to put my best interests at heart. So that's a B2C model that we've built. And Pop Business, that's our B2B business, where we help small to medium-sized businesses, and we're servicing over 1,000 now. And our goal for that business is to help you build your dream business. So for any students out there or anyone listening that's thinking about taking the entrepreneurial part, you know, feel free to reach out. We might be able to give you some tips on how to set up your business and test your business model. So yeah, I'm also a UNSW alumni, graduated, when did I graduate? 2010. So very happy to be speaking to the UNSW community again. And of course, you know, together with Opportunities Australia, I've been working with that charity with Kumar for, I think, a year now. So time has flown by, and, you know, it's amazing that we could bring together all these mentors that have, you know, advice and knowledge to share with everyone. So yeah, basically I describe myself as a problem solver. I love getting into problems and understanding what is an out of the box way to help solve that problem. And also diamond cutter. It's a weird one, but it's trying to find the best in people. So what I like is learning more about the people I'm dealing with and understanding how we can get the best out of them. So polishing that diamond and making them as bright as possible. So today, I thought I'd go on the theme of aim and fire. So next slide, please. So yeah, this talk was about stepping stones that you could probably use practically for yourself. So next slide. And I'm just going to go through a couple steps that might be useful for you today. So step one, well, one key thing for me was place yourself in uncomfortable situations. Fear is something that we all experience, and it's not something to shy away from. It's an important signal. It's a signal that you're going towards something that really matters to you. One story about this where I had to be placed in an uncomfortable situation was back when we first started the company Pop Tax. We were in a co-working space, and every Friday night they do pitch nights. So you're pitching to 100 people about your business idea, and you're pitted against two other co-founders, and you try to get the crowd to cheer you on. So Thursday, I got the call from the organizer, and they said, hey, a spot opened up tomorrow for the pitch. Do you want to pitch? And my internal monologue was saying, nah, you're bad at public speaking. And I still think that there's a lot to improve as well. But, that's the uncomfortable and fear that I felt. But I realized that if I don't do it, one, I wouldn't grow as a person, and two, I'll be missing out a huge opportunity. So even though I felt those things, I had one day to prepare, put up a few slides, practiced it a few times, and pitched the next day. And it paid off. We won the pitch night, which was awesome. But that's what happens when you take control of your fear and just push past that uncomfortable feelings. Make the most of your opportunities. So that's a key thing that I'd like to leave with you. Second story, second step, knock on many doors, and speak through that door. Hope that opportunity is behind that right door. Listen what comes back, listen to the feedback, and hopefully if you knock on enough doors, you'll get through to the opportunity that you've been looking for. And there's this characteristic in people that I really love, which is called high autonomy. So high autonomy is basically people that when they hear the answer no, they can find a way to get the yes. So it's like, okay, this didn't work, let's move on. This didn't work, let's move on. So high autonomy, one way that showed in my experience in life so far was, when we submit resumes and cover letters to all these prospective employers, you're probably sending out 100 and you're getting 99 no's. I don't know, whatever it may be. The job market is very difficult because, especially if you're an international student, you're competing with people that know the culture better than you do, probably have a better social network. But that's not to say that you can't get that yourself. The way that I was able to find a job at Pitcher Partners, which is a top tier accounting firm, was someone brought to my attention that they're having a career expo, and they have the stalls, and the representative of the companies are there. They're looking for bright ambitious, driven individuals to join their company. So if you display that and you can tell your story in a way that they'll remember you, they'll remember you when you submit your CV and your cover letter. They already understand your attitude, your character. So that might get your foot in the door. So a lot of people will just take the easy way of just doing cover letter and resume. And I think it was Einstein, he said, you know, insanity is doing the same thing all the time and expecting a different result. So might be paraphrasing that, but, you know, high autonomy, you know, if you get a no, find a way, like look into your network. If you don't have a network, build your network. And similar to Juliana's point, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, get one, build it up, get a few recommendations through, put the volunteering work you've done, put some main key like successes that you've had throughout your life and your career, and really highlight them. So yeah, 2 steps. Hopefully, you know, no matter where you are in life, those 2 steps can help. Next slide, please. So yeah, aim and fire. It's amazing that you guys are on this Zoom call today. So thank you for being a part of it. You're all capable because you're in postgrads. You're very fortunate and you must be intelligent, right? So, you know, you have some really great traits working for you. So really leverage that. Some people that have all these traits sometimes don't end up succeeding because of a few things, but one of them is, are you hungry enough? Do you really want where you're trying to go? If you don't feel that fire, maybe you're going down the wrong path. You're not really following what you want to do. You know, coming from, you know, you could probably other people have different expectations for you, but the most important expectation is, what is your expectation for yourself? And today, in today's world, we're so fortunate that we have this paradox of unlimited choice. So we could basically do anything, like if you really think about it. But the problem with unlimited choice is, how do you choose? And that's a problem that I think everyone will think about, like, am I in the right career? Sometimes it's like, am I with the right group of friends, or am I, like, you know, it could be anything, any relationship that you have with anything. But the most important thing is, what is your unique vision for yourself? And when you find that, that's what you should aim for. And then once you know what that looks like, you can take your first steps towards that, build out an action plan, talk to mentors, talk to your friends, get their perspective on it, because if you ask enough people, you knock behind enough doors and you listen, you'll be able to get the right information that you need to get closer to your vision. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see this video, Your Next 15 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. I basically tell everyone about this guy. So I really would recommend checking it out later. But he talks about language and lens. So language is the words coming out of your mouth that, you know, he puts it, you know, do you really know what you want? And he gives a good example of, say, your perfect partner. It's like, okay, they're 5'7", right? They're like 5'7". And then he goes, I found this lady, she's 5'7", but she's 80. So it's like, you know, although you said one criteria, you really need to be specific about what you're looking for. And in my job at Pop, at sales, it's like, here is exactly what we're going to do for your business. Here's exactly what the price is. Here's what the process is. It's getting very clear and succinct language to help you get to where you're trying to go. and lens is an important one, where you've got to think with your relationships, how do you view them? Are you seeing them as a way they can help you, or a way you can help them? So if you're always looking out for number one, yourself, people will just perceive you as a taker. So the more you can think about others, the better it is, because you'll build that relationship and trust and goodwill. And I think that comes back to why we joined Opportunities Australia. It's like, what can we give to actually, better society and the world in general. And so, yeah, that leads me to the next point. Time is on your side. You guys still young. Just be persistent on that pathway to your vision, and just trust the process, because if you take on the right characteristics, you invest your time in the right places, building your knowledge, building your friendships, just trust that it's going to lead you to the right place. So yeah, at the end, I'll leave you with this question: where are you now? If you need to think about what your unique vision is, take time. It's super important. Do you need to adjust your language, your lens? Do you need to persist more? Do you need to put more time? Are you hungry enough? So yeah, a lot of points to think about. Next slide, please. So yeah, that's the end of my speech. Thank you so much. So take aim and fire. If you need to reach me, find me on LinkedIn, and that's my email.
Thank you so much, Sidney. I think you covered a lot of insightful points there, starting from the fact that how important it is for us to place ourselves in uncomfortable situations and actually try those scenarios where we are afraid of going to, and eventually learning something new. And the fact and the journey that you shared, that how you should have a vision, and then taking it to the fact, to the importance of time, persistence, and trust. I really loved your presentation, Sidney. And I'm sure that many students who are attending this session might have also loved that. So it's time now to move towards the very exciting part, that is the Q&A session, which runs for around 20 minutes. And we can take it till 30 minutes today, because we have time. So now the floor is actually yours, the audience, on the Zoom chat. So you can either type your question on the Zoom chat or ask directly by unmuting yourselves. Just to keep the flow going, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom to showcase that you are interested in asking questions. And one of us, either me or Shruthi, we will take your questions one by one. I will give chance to Shruthi to see if there is any question in the Zoom chat.
Thanks for that, Saurabh. I think first question from Jack was already answered by Craig. So I will now be taking the next question, that is from Constantine. So it's directed to Craig as well. So Constantine asks, what do you think universities can do on a policy basis to combat racism on campus? Over to you, Craig.
Craig is not available at the moment. Craig had to attend to another business actually, so my apologies.
Yeah, Kumar, if you'd like to go ahead, or Maryam, if you'd like to take this question.
Could you please repeat the question? I'll try.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, just give me a moment. Sorry for that.
That's all right.
So what do you think universities can do on a policy basis to combat racism on campus? So Maryam, if you'd like to take this one.
Kumar, you want to go, or you want me to take it on?
I'll answer for a minute. This would take big partnerships. First of all, education amongst the local students. So they could run campaigns throughout the university. Universities have big campuses, and they would have room to have flags. like City of Sydney runs flags to pass on any messages. So I believe they could have flags to pass messages about racism and educate the local students about multiculturalism. I must say it's about time that universities as well as other councils also do that. As Craig Foster was talking about running a campaign about racism, the tagline is "Racism Not Welcome." If universities can also run those campaigns, something around those lines, and run some seminars to educate the local students, I think that'd be good. And if some of the brands could also partner up in this, because university students go to work, right? All the students. So if brands could also partner up, they come out for sessions, etc., in which they touch on this thing. Is multiculturalism is a big thing. 1 out of 5 Australians are born overseas. So and those people range from doctors, engineers, scientists, etc. So what's there to not like about it? I mean, if you have a need to go to a doctor or engineer, etc., you'd go and you talk to them respectfully. But if you go to Coles checkout, and if that's a person of color, and if you don't have to show respect to them, you would not do that. Or in university, if you don't have to deal with that person, if you don't need anything from that person, you might look down at them. So there is no need for that, because in future, that person might, the person you have looked down to, or the person who you have passed a comment to, etc., in the university, that might become your doctor. You never know. You might have an accident and you're there in the hospital, and here you are, the same person. So tables always turn. And I believe it's not too difficult to run campaigns out there in universities. It's up to the deans, vice chancellors, and chancellors, etc. And I was very pleased, actually. I received a letter from UNSW that David Gonski and another vice chancellor from UTS, a very hardworking gentleman, who has become the vice chancellor of UNSW. So David Gonski is a big name out there in the industry. And I believe in his term, UNSW is going to do very well. I would also, in my power, not that I have so much power at this moment, but as I have started to interact with the brands out there, big corporates, one of my mission would be to interact in terms of racism, and to provide equal opportunity to all the candidates on behalf of Opportunities Australia. This is really a mission and a dream for Opportunities Australia. To connect all the people of color to employment opportunities, as well as to respect, because no one deserves, second-degree treatment. So, yeah, this is my take on it. Maryam.
Can I add here something as well, Kumar? In terms of racism, with all the campaigns and advocacies and everything, it's important. It gives us evidence and resources for us to take. But also we need to challenge the policymakers. Where's the policies around racism? What happens when somebody complains about being racially abused and things that happen that are not addressed in the court of law because there's no policies around it. So from academia perspective and people that are working on this space, not to just kind of scratch the surface of things, but also to go and sit down with our politicians and to sit down with the policymakers and questions them.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Sundar. Which is again directed towards Craig, but probably this can be taken by either Sidney. So the question is, how can we influence or impact the next generation to become better Australian? Or I would say this can be framed for any country. How would you be representing your country in a better way in the future generation, not only as an Australian, but if you are from other nationalities, how are you going to take your country forward in a positive way?
Yeah, that's a very loaded question, and it's interesting because I'm a second gen Australian, so parents moved over here, migrated in early 80s, and then I popped up, and then always had an issue with identity. It's like, because obviously I'm I'm darker. There's always, am I Aussie or am I, Filipino? But I am Aussie. I truly believe that. And it's tough. I think the way that we can build like a stronger future as Australians is, it's so difficult to answer. It's becoming more open with each other, dialogue, sharing each other's stories, because at the end of the day, I don't really see a difference between one person to another, because I think becoming that issue with identity, I don't see color that much. Like I see a person. I see a person with a character, and I think if we could adopt that way of thinking, it's not like, oh, they're from over there, or it's like, it's a bit like tribalism. You might have heard, like, that's why people like tend to gravitate to one community and then shun other communities. But because I never felt like super strong in one community, I tended to slide between all the communities. So I think I think being proud to be who you are is important, but then not to the degree where you have this look, you're looking down on someone else. So if we could somehow, and I'm not an expert at this subject at all, so don't take whatever I'm saying seriously, but we need to all do our part. So that's all I have to say on that.
Juliana, would you like to add something to that?
Sorry, guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, no, I thought that was wonderful that you mentioned that, because I went through the same challenge, until you establish yourself and until you actually have some voice in the market, because you've gone through different challenges. And I know that feeling, because after 12 years being in Australia, working so hard, focusing on my development and having to overcome so many challenges, it is very relieving to, feel Australian. And I joke with all my friends and colleagues, and even my husband always tells me and say, Juliana, you've been here for 12 years. How are you not really, because I cannot really believe how beautiful this place is. And, I really love Australia. I'm very proud to be Australia. I think it's a land of opportunities. That's why it's so inspiring to hear you all and be able to share a little bit of our experience with everyone. It's a shame that the time is so limited, but I know exactly how you feel. And last year in December, I've got a call from marketing company that works with the New South Wales government. And they called me saying, Juliana, we found your profile and we would like you to be part of the Australian Day campaign for 2021. And I was like, what is this about? No, we just want to interview about 12 people that have successful stories and that came to the country and obviously overcame a lot of challenges, and they are proud to be Australians. And when I shared those news with all my friends and family and colleagues, they were like, oh, it's paying off all your passion about Australia. So what I just want to add to that comment that Sid made is that we are all very welcome here, and we all have a space in this market, and we are all capable to do and, to achieve our dreams. You just need to focus, believe in yourself, and literally discover what's your power, because we are all unique. We all have different expertises. So do not compare yourself with someone else. You can look at someone and feel inspired. So I hope we can all here, we can inspire you all. But do not try to compare yourself with anyone else, because if from your perspective, you're comparing yourself with someone that you judge a little bit more superior than you, you're never going to be good enough. And if you are comparing yourself with someone that from your perspective, you judge, not so smart as you, you're always going to be in a comfort zone. So compare yourself with who you were yesterday, who you are today, and who are you looking to be tomorrow, and collaborate with everyone, because we are in this society together. So if we have more people that are well resolved and successful, life and the country and the world will be much better. We have a long way to go, but just want to add that I feel exactly what you feel, Sid.
Thanks a lot for that, Juliana. I think, Sundar, that must have answered your question. Next, I would like to take another question, and I think this is quite directed to Maryam. So the question.
I can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Sorry.
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Thanks, Maryam.
That's all right.
The question is actually directed to you, and thank you so much, Juliana, for answering the earlier question. So the question for you is, how can you raise the self-image of women, regardless of background, to be successful in environments which are typically male-dominated?
So it's a very good question, but I would probably need an hour to answer it, but I'll go quick from what I have experienced as well. In a lot of part of the world, and even in modern countries like Australia, there is still imbalance between gender imbalance or exist, patriarchy, male-dominated societies that are in we experience. So in that, all women faces a lot of challenges. It is not that women and men are much different in terms of their aspiration, what they want to achieve in life, their dreams, their likes and stuff. But it's just that women, mostly women, or at most of the times, women are they do prioritize their what they wanted to do, and normally they take on or first choose their families and loved ones and their homes and things like that. So that's where we sometimes fall a little bit behind, and this is where our surroundings become more male presented. So to answer the question in a sense where we have to address the bottom line for us to be able to bring a balance in the society, let's talk about the current place that we are living in Australia, that how our husbands, our brothers, our sons, our male friends, colleagues, male politicians can help us and accommodate us places where we can be still a women, and being a loving and caring person, so human beings that we are, but also to be able to take part in the places where male are as well, for example, in the government bodies and the leadership platforms. And for women to believe in themselves, that because we are very multitask, if we organize ourselves, if we make our male partners, male friends, ask for help, don't feel too guilty if we don't cook every day. Don't feel guilty that because back home we served everybody and we cannot serve here our husband and our in-laws and everybody else. I hope my in-laws are not online, but anyway, so we can take a little bit of tone things down and find, because of the opportunities are here, we can find things that are makes us more visible. For a woman, for somebody like me, coming from a very male-dominated society, I don't just face the country's perception about women. I also face and answerable, or I challenge where I live at home, and the expectation that outside of my house has from my husband, that your wife must be this, and that, for me to be able and function and be more visible in the society. But as a woman, how do I create that balance that I convince, and I have spoken words and I have spoken about my rights, but in a nicer way, to my husband, and through him to my family, and through my family to the society and to the country. So see how many obstacles and how many layers we have to address to be able to challenge that perception and become visible, but it's not impossible. So for me, it's for us to be able, we must speak up, We must educate ourselves. As Juliana said, we must educate ourselves to our rights, to what our rights are, to the country that we are residing, and what is the best way to approach it. No, violence is not the way that you go and fight with your husband or your husband fight to you. It's not the way. It's not the way to just go silent for a week because you can't get something done. You have to have that. You have to build on your communication skills for anything in life if you want to achieve.
Thank you so much, Maryam, for those remarkable comments that you made. Especially, I think your journey is quite inspirational for the larger community. The way you have been empowering women, not only within your community, but I think it has inspired people outside your community as well. As I was telling you yesterday.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I have empowered. I'm not going to use the empowered words from myself. It's just that helping or connecting with other women, connecting outside of my community, connecting with non-Afghans, that become that a network, and that network gives you a different perspective in life. And that platform on my network, whether they're male or female, they become a healing aspect. So I'm healing from the place where I've come, from a place that I was, let's say, invisible for 20 years. And with connecting now and becoming more comfortable, I'm feeling that I am healing, and I'm feeling I feel happy, and when people around me, they feel happy, and I bring a lot of coffees and chocolates, and people even enjoy more.
Yeah, that's so. We'll just take now 2 more questions because we are also looking at the post networking session. So the 2 questions we'll take, one from Akshil and one from Isha. For Akshil's question, it is directed towards Sydney, and he's saying that, thank you, Sidney. I'm also from accounting background. I just want to know about your thoughts on future of accounting, like how automation might gonna impact this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. Great question. Automation is definitely a part of the future on how the accounting industry will evolve. In saying that, you know, when the industrial age came through, everyone thought jobs would be lost, but jobs were just transitioned. So different types of expertise and skills will always be required. And there's some key skills that through any age, they're always going to serve you well. And these are skills that we hope to teach at Opportunities Australia. So, you know, critical thinking, decision-making, soft skills, management skills, interpersonal skills. And then it also comes down to, you know, mental health, physical health, and also goes into finance, like how to make sure that you can maintain a budget, not spend over your means, not fall into the debt trap. So, you know, a lot of these skills that aren't really taught, they're sort of, you know, through your life experience, you pick them up. You don't really get to practice them unless you put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So I think, yeah, to get back to your question, automation definitely going to be a huge thing in accounting. So that's why engineering, like jobs in engineering, computer science, data analytics, they're becoming a lot more prominent. But you will still need, if you're an accountant, you'll still need that base knowledge to make sure that you can bridge the 2 disciplines. So innovation happens where 2 disciplines meet. So, you know, automation is computer science combined with whatever field you're in. So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you so much, Sydney. I hope, Akshil, your question is now answered. But even if you have further questions, we will be taking you to the breakout rooms where you can directly interact with the speakers, and then you can ask in detail about the questions that you have. One last question that we can take in the Q&A. Maybe I can ask this question to Juliana. It's coming from Isha, who says that during and post-COVID, what kind of skills would be in demand and how can we match up to the new ways of working?
Very good question. Okay, so just going straight to the point, I would say the skills that are on demand, it really depends of the area that you operate. So different industries at the moment, they need different skills. So my advice here would be do a research in the area that you operate so you can understand how people are actually looking for these new ways of working and these different skills. But generally speaking, skills that the market always look for is attitude, it is commitment, it is being proactive, and is being pretty much true to yourself and focusing what you enjoy and focusing what you love doing. Because if you do not have the passion to do their job, you probably won't be successful. And you're going to be looking at other people's lives and you're going to be comparing yourself saying, why is that person so successful and why I'm so miserable? So don't focus in the job that you are supposed to do because you need to make money, because money we all need to make, bills we all have to pay. That's just the society we've been inserted. We were born in a world that is ready to go, right? You open the fridge, the food is in there, you wake up, you go water in your tap, and you turn on the shower, you have a shower, you open your wardrobe, you have clothes. So we just need to do what we have to do. But if you can choose something that you are passionate about, you will always have the right attitude, and your future employer obviously will be able to see that. I can tell you this from my own experience coming to the country, knowing nothing about the Australian market, and just showing pretty much my future employers how I could add value to the company and to the business. So be passionate about what you do your market research, increase your network and expand your network through LinkedIn, which is extremely powerful. On LinkedIn, you got functionalities where you can join groups. So in the search bar, you just type names of groups relevant to your work and to the industry that you operate. Once you join these groups, you will be able to be part of discussions. And usually these people, they will be talking about market trends. So what is happening or what they are looking for. Sometimes they even share business projects that they are working on. So they just ask for people's opinion. So, hey guys, I'm doing this and that. Does anyone have a tip? I've got a presentation to the CEO of the company. So through those conversations, we start getting sight of what is your market and your industry in the country is looking for. And another thing that I would like to suggest always is start following the companies that you would like to work for, because usually the companies will be posting the available jobs, also the discussions that are happening in the business, if the company is being sold or if got a merger or if there is a new software or whatever is relevant to the business, you will be fully aware and you can prepare yourself and then focus on the skills that you are lack of. In order to come stronger on the job hunting.
Thanks a lot for that, Juliana. I think that should have answered your question, Isha. I really hope that it did. But if you have some more questions, please do stick out for the breakout room session that we will have later on, and you'd be able to ask the question by yourself. Now, with a heavy heart, I'd have to say that we are almost towards the end of this amazing 2 days of mentorship conclave. The one thought that I have got from all these speakers from the past 2 days is that success is just a journey and not a destination, and we learn throughout our life, and it's a never-ending process. With that thought, I'd now like to call our PGC Vice President, Diana Zhang, to give the thank you comments to all our guest speakers for the day. Over to you, Diana.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shruthi, for the kind introduction. So on behalf of the Postgraduate Council, I want to express our sincere thanks to Kumar from Opportunities Australia and our wonderful special guests and mentors tonight. So thank you, Maryam, thank you, Craig, Juliana and Sidney for your time and support in making tonight's event possible. I also want to extend my thanks to ARC, especially Mitch, for your kind support in helping to broadcast tonight's event across social media. And of course, our wonderful hosts, Saurabh and Shruthi from the Postgraduate Council. So please join me in thanking all of them by clicking the clapping hands icon on Zoom. So tonight we've been encouraged by the advice, wisdom, and experiences presented to us by our amazing mentors. But more than that, we've been reminded about our social responsibility in this world and to use our voices and actions to create a more positive, kinder, and fairer society. To quote Gandhi, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Finally, if you liked tonight's event or would like to catch up on last night's day one conclave, or even just to re-watch tonight's event, all recordings are available on the Postgraduate Council's Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel. We also have a number of events happening tomorrow as part of Postgraduate Week, including a mental health and wellbeing workshop, as well as a games and networking session. So please do check out our Eventbrite to book your spot. Once again, thank you to Opportunities Australia and our wonderful guest tonight, and to all of you for joining us on such a late evening on Thursday. The Postgraduate Council looks forward very much to seeing you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that final message, Diana. And I would also like to thank all our speakers, Opportunities Australia, ARC, UNSW Postgraduate Council, and of course, our wonderful audience for making this happen today. But before we end this event and I pass it on to the breakout rooms for networking, I would like to invite the CEO of Opportunities Australia, Mr. Kumar, to deliver the conclusion remarks for this two-day Opportunities Australia Mentorship Conclave.
Yes, it was a brilliant night, and last night was amazing as well. Great speakers, and I hope you all have really gotten a lot of messages out of it, and it was very meaningful for you. This is just the beginning of our group sessions. So this is pretty much our second night of group session, bigger group sessions. So many more to come. And if COVID hits us one way, we know how to tackle that, Zoom, here we come. So looking forward to many more great sessions. And besides mentoring, we are also here for employment as well, as I mentioned earlier. And there are some technical fields that we help you out in. We got Juliana, we got Sydney, so people with, great skills. We had some IT people last night as well. So whatever requirement you may have, just drop us a line and you'll hear from us. And most likely 99.9% that we would be able to help you out. So it's a great passion of all of us. At this moment, as I speak, we have over 60 volunteers in our team, and they're all very passionate to helping you out. So it's such an amazing, it's a dream run, and we are here for you anytime you need something. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for that, Kumar. This event wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for the amazing collaboration between Opportunities Australia, UNSW PGC, as well as ARC UNSW. And thanks, audience, for being so wonderful tonight and asking amazing questions to all our guest speakers yesterday as well as today. Please do stick around for the breakout rooms as well, where you can individually go in and ask for questions. Last but not least, I'd love to thank Mitch as well for being the great support in the back end and helping us in streaming this live on Facebook, as well as taking care of everything that happens in the background for this wonderful event on Zoom. Thank you, audience.